Hello, this is Katie. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time. This is day 7 of a video every day in October. I'm going to be using the Witchy legs from this Spook Up Some Fun Simon Says stamp set. And then for the background on the card base, I'll be using a page from the 31 by Frank Garcia Prima Marketing paper pad. It's got some fun candy in pink on a black background. And then I'm going to be cutting the next layer out of one of the wonky stitched rectangles from Cat Scrappiness just on white cardstock. So for the base, I'm not going to be using a die or anything like that, just putting the paper straight onto the base for the background. So I'm going to trim it to 5.5 by 4.25. I usually go over just a tiny bit and I eyeball it over 5.5 and over 4.25, just so that I can be sure I cover my full card base. Every piece of cardstock I cut just turns out different measurements. It's likely the paper, part of it's probably the trimmer. Measurements are never like NASA exact when it comes to the craft room. So I always just kind of overshoot it a little bit. It'll still fit in an envelope, but I'll be sure to cover my card base. So I put plenty of tape runner adhesive on the back side of that. And then I lined it up with the spine of the card, because if I need to do any trimming, I can always trim off the other end. You can't trim the spine or you would ruin the card. So you can see a little bit pops out, and it is a little bit bigger than the card base, but that's fine. That was the goal, to make sure it was covered. And then I'm going to be using the second biggest in this die set, just so we can still see our background peeking out from behind. And then I'm going to stamp. I'm kind of pre-measuring, and I want to use the Happy Halloween sentiment in that bottom right. So I'm kind of measuring to make sure they'll both fit on that die. And then I'm just going to go cut that out really quick and come back. And then put that in my stamp platform, my Misty, so that we can get it stamped properly. So just cleaning off those paper bits that are inevitable in a die cut machine that has been used before. And gonna go ahead and put that in the stamping platform. So I always just put it in the corner, and I make sure my foam is scooted into the corner as well, because it does move too. So make sure the foam is in the corner, the paper is in the corner, put the magnet on the corner, the upper right of the paper, and then I'm going to center our little witchy legs. And then when I pick that up with the window, the paper is just inevitably going to move, and so I readjust it to the corner where I had it. And then I'm going to be using my MFT Extreme Black Hybrid ink. It's just the one I've been using for several months now. Ink that up, and then I'm going to be using my Pressure Pal so I can get that even pressure, and so I don't have to use my fingers to press on the window as well. Any video this month and forward, really, as long as she's making it, where I use the Pressure Pal, I will link it down below, because I believe it is very, very helpful, especially if you have a stamping platform. And it gives you that even pressure, so even those little tiny crevices of stamps, like picture a lawn fawn stamp with a tiny straw that's striped, where those, those stripes might have filled in before. I've been able to stamp where those are like something you can actually color in, because the ink is not smushing everywhere. So the Pressure Pal, I don't stamp without it in my Misty anymore. And then I situated the Happy Halloween sentiment and then picked that up and then recentered the paper. I want to make sure that if I need to do 2, which I do, the ink is good, but 2 is usually my go-to number of stampings to get it to a solid black. And I want to make sure it's in the corner so that I can stamp it twice without it, moving. That's the point of the stamp platform. So I cleaned off those stamps off camera, and now we have our image to color. And I'm going to be using my tri-blends. I'll be using the orange blend. I actually have a reason I'm making this card. But I do first really quickly want to talk about, I believe on day 5, I am pre-recording some of these. And on day 5, I have a video where I don't know what my phone is doing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I only have so many options for like ratios I can film in on my phone. I'm not going to buy a special camera. I don't make money from YouTube or anything I do, really, unless I'm destashing things. So I'm not going to pay for like a real camera, at least not yet anyway. If this becomes a problem, I would probably just upgrade my phone to a better phone. But it's been kind of like shifting around during the entire video. So on day 5, if you watched that and you see it shifting, I apologize for that. I don't know what it's doing. I'm not moving my phone or anything like that. It could be that it's trying to focus, so maybe I need a setting. If you know anything about the phone, I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 9, if that helps. If you know anything about why it would shift like that so much, let me know. The only thing is that one, I didn't do a voiceover or anything like that. I didn't, I recorded it. I paused, but it wasn't shifting during my pauses. I talked during it and I uploaded it straight to YouTube. I didn't put it through an editing program. There's no reason for it to be glitchy. And I don't notice the screen moving. Like I am looking at the screen sometimes when I'm filming to make sure that everything is in view. So if you know any reason why that would be happening, feel free to let me know. I did film differently for this video because I wanted to test it out and I was hoping it would be good enough. So when I go into my camera, my options are the 16:9 ratio because I'm filming horizontally. Then there is like a 1:1 ratio, which is like a square. And then I think the only other option is full. And the only difference is that between 16:9, which is what I'm normally filming in, and what I filmed day 5 in, and the full is that when I'm looking at my phone in camera and videoing mode and I turn it sideways like it's horizontal and I press 16:9, I do have black bars on the left and the right, but it's still like a wide screen. It's not a square, it's still a rectangle, but there are black bars on the left and the right. And in the full view, my view of what I'm filming fills up my whole screen. So the whole screen of my phone in its entirety, there are no black bars at all. And that's how I filmed this one. And aside from the tiny glitch a few seconds in at the beginning of this video, which you will notice, I don't believe it glitched. So I think the full view is good enough if it's going to work and not do that glitching thing. I think maybe the ratio is messing with it. I don't know. The difference between 16:9 and full, it does, I think, cut off a little bit from all sides, but it's so little. And I'm also making sure that what I'm showing you is in my shot. So I'm not worried about it cutting something off because it doesn't really apply to me. When I switch to the full view, I'm looking at it and I'm making sure that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm hoping that that's the case. So I'll stick with the full view because that's how I did this one. And I don't understand what that tiny glitch at the beginning is. It makes no sense to me why it does that. If it's adjusting, if that is the case and this phone is not, it's not super easy when it comes to just straight editing, like from the gallery. But if I can record and do nothing for the first 10 seconds, let it get its glitch out of its system, and then chop those 10 seconds off, then I have no glitches. And then I can, record and talk or do a voiceover. That's fine. So I'm hoping that's the case. I just need to figure out how to cut off the first 10 seconds because I'm just not very smooth at it. it's not very super user friendly on my phone in like the gallery editing. So there's that. So anyway, sorry for all of that boring stuff, but I want what you're watching to not give you a headache. I'm very visually sensitive as well, and so it bothers me, and it's my own video, and I would rather it not glitch while you're watching it. I think that's dumb, because most people would just buy a real camera, but I don't want to do that because it's very expensive, and I would rather buy art supplies. So this card is going to be for one of my husband's best friend's daughters. I went to go drop him off the other day so they could go to the baseball game, and she came out in this, it was much longer than this because she's young, and it was like a play skirt, but she came out in this orange Halloween skirt with black dots, I believe. I'm pretty sure I remember correctly, because she's so very ready for Halloween, as am I, and I thought it was super cute. So I will be adding black dots to this, which is a very interesting journey that I will take you on with me. The other thing I want to note is when, and I've probably mentioned this plenty of times, but I like to give tips in every video that pertain to that video, even if they may seem very beginner or something you already know, but there are some people that don't already know these things, so I like to mention them. Even though I love this ink, it does need some time to dry, so I think in well, yeah, I don't want to do that either. I was going to say in pre-recording these, I could pre-stamp some of my images because I do need to ink up the stamp and stamp it twice to get a good solid black. I want to let them sit for a day or two before I color them in, but I want to also stamp on camera as part of the video. I don't want to take that part out. So I think I'll just work around it. But basically when I stamp the ink twice and I go to color it right away, like you probably saw me waving it around, I was trying to give it a second to dry. In my next video, I may test drying it with a heat gun and see if that helps a little bit. But even using these alcohol markers, the black lines, like the skirt lines and the lines in the hat, are kind of smearing, which, I mean, nobody wants their lines to smear when they're coloring. We're all looking for that magical ink that dries instantly and works with anything. This ink is the closest I've gotten so far. But I do believe it needs some drying time. So either I need to, I don't know. I think I want to try a heat gun and just manually dry it, speed up the process, and then try coloring it in and see if that helps a little bit. If you have any quick tips, feel free to let me know. This ice gray shades color in the Tri-Blends, I really like it for items that are supposed to be black, but it's kind of like black with light shining on it. So it's just a dark kind of charcoaly gray, like a cool gray, I believe, which would explain the ice gray shades name. But I feel like these boots in the light would give that kind of, you know, lighter reflection and might look gray. But I also do grab a black Copic to color in the accents on the shoes, like the little cuff and then the, not shoelaces, but whatever those are, the little buckles in front, just to fill those in and so they're not the same as the shoe. And these, because they're not my, you know, brush tip Copics, this image had kind of some pointy corners and some areas that were a little hard to get into. So you just have to, almost like hover. And I do the same with Copics in very tight areas, even though I do have that brush tip. It's almost like if you have a stylus in your phone and you take it out like the pen, and you just like hover over the screen. You don't even touch it to the screen, but it still selects it, whatever you're hovering over. It's kind of like that. You almost don't touch the paper with the pen, and it will still get the ink on the paper, if that makes sense. You get really, really, really close and don't, go full in, or else it can bleed through outside your lines. So that's just kind of how I work with the tri-blends when I have to get into those corners. And also with the Copic brushes, you just go ever so lightly. The ink in your alcohol markers will find the paper. They will find their way out. They're kind of attracted to it. So if you want to practice that in those tiny corners, it's good practice. I promise I will not go on another rant about clogging glue bottles. I will avoid that entirely, but you get to go on this Nuvo drops, whatever type of drops they are from Nuvo, journey with me. I am going to attach this panel is the word I'm trying to think of, the panel, to the card base before I do this last part. So I am actually happy that I had to go through this process, because I prefer the end result over what I know would have happened, and I should know better, and I should have just done it the way I ended up doing it regardless, if maybe a different way, but you'll see what I mean. So I will end up using a Nuvo, and it's not glitter, it's a Nuvo, some sort of drops, but it's like matte black. And there's no glitter or anything in it. It's just black. I think it dries matte. I don't know if it dries shiny. I'll show you the bottle. I just can't remember which type of Nuvo drops it is. But it is clogged. And even though I do eventually open it up and like unclog it, I put it back and I still can't get it to work. And I'm just baffled, because it should. And luckily with those bottles, the little applicator piece, like the neck where the goo comes out, it's Nuvo Crystal Drops in Ebony Black. I don't know if they dry shiny or matte. Anyway, I'm trying to squeeze it out and it's not coming out. And I've been here before where I squeezed a Nuvo glitter glue, which is why I replaced one of mine, too hard, and the little insert, the little topper popped out, and I lost half the bottle. And so I know better now. I'm squeezing, and at points I'm squeezing and also holding in the topper so it doesn't pop out. But my plan for making these drops was to squeeze little circles all over this, and I realized that isn't probably the smoothest way to do it, but I can't even get it to come out. And I think I paused for a little bit, and you can see the mess I've made on the Post-it in front of me. I've taken out the top. I now have a bottle, and then I have the Stampin' Up! Tool that I remember that I have, that one of these Stampin' Up! Demos I signed up under mailed to me as a gift. And it's got this little tip and this little ball tip. And so I just dip it in the paint, and I end up with way better dots than I could have made squeezing it out. So ideally I would have been able to squeeze some of this out onto the Post-it and dipped into there, but the head is easily removable enough that if I need to do this again, now I know how. It's not that big of a deal. You just squeeze it and pull it out with your fingers, but that also makes for a bad time when it clogs and you squeeze too hard, and then it pops off, and then you lose half your glue, colored glue. But I just went lighter or heavier, and then when I felt like I was running out, I went and picked up more. And it turned out better looking than I had imagined from the beginning. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. And I highly recommend getting some sort of ball-tipped metal thing. Some of us have them. I might even have another one in a different format, but it makes for also very good white dots. If you ever follow Davina, she's Popsicle Sticks over on Instagram, she was doing this with white acrylic paint for her white dots on her images. It wasn't white gel pen, it was actual acrylic paint. So I really like how that ended up working out and looking. And I definitely want to use that with these Nuvo drops in the future. So even with the glitter drops, like I can't squeeze a good circle. You always have that little tail on the top and it looks like whipped cream instead. And so I think maybe in the future, this is how I may create dots. You can just pop the top off the Nuvo and dip your whatever ball tip you have and do it that way. So anyway, yeah, I think those turned out really cute. So this will be a card for her. I will mail it off to them. And then I'm just using my size 10 jelly roll to add some white accents to finish it off. I am not very good at my white accents. I have been loving Steph's white accents. She is World of Papercraft. World, like WHIRLED, over on Instagram, and she's been doing super cute white accents lately on all of her Lawn Fawn images, because she's been doing tons of Lawn Fawn as well. So maybe I should take some notes. I don't think very hard about it, I think is my problem. Anyway, so that is our card. Thank you for going on this journey with me, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Thank you for watching. Bye.